Morning, people. We'll just wait for a notification to let me know this is live for you. Let's give it a couple of minutes. Ho hum, ho hum, ho hum. And hopefully, okay. Obviously, it's not going to give me a notification, but anyway, looks like there's people here, so good morning, and I'll get started. So, yesterday on Marcus Paul in the Morning, federal opposition leader for the ALP, Anthony Albanese, stated that they will scrap the cashless debit card if they get the government, which is fantastic. I just want to explain it for people, because I'm looking through the comments on our post from yesterday, and people seem to be a bit concerned about the income management side of it all. So I'm just going to explain it in plain English. They've said they will scrap the cashless debit card, okay? The corporatised, privatised Indu card will go. Simple. They want a government-run scheme, not a privately run corporatized scheme. Okay, that allows for people who are on any form of income management to be protected under Australian law, have their rights protected, and for whoever's in charge of it is accountable to the Senate, the people, unlike the Indu card, which is not, they're not accountable to us. They're not accountable to the Senate. Indu has never sat in the Senate and had to explain themselves. And it's totally for profit for Indu and their stakeholders. So I'll just explain the income management side of it, because Linda Burney said it over and over again. They are in favour of a voluntary, informed consent system of income management. As in a voluntary basics card with informed consent. So people have all of the information before them before they have to make a decision whether they want to volunteer for it or not. And the only deviation on that is if it's recommended in regards to a child's safety aspect or a vulnerable person's aspect. That's the only difference. But the difference is the basics card under a voluntary scheme that is under the government, right, with public servants working for it, not Indu, Serco staff, call centre, private, corporate, for-profit. There's a big difference here, right? And there's a few people, yep, a lot of people have their doubts. But at the end of the day, you want to get rid of this card? Put Labor in the seat, right? Give them the opportunity to do that by whatever means that they've got to do, and hold them to account and do that, you know what I mean? But you've got to get them in the seat first. People go, oh, they could have voted it out before. No, they couldn't. They have not had the numbers in the House of Reps to be able to stop this. And last December, we saw in the debates where there was an opportunity through an amendment that Linda Burney put up to stop it. And 3 people, including Centre Alliance, Rebecca Sharkey, voted that amendment down, which stopped it from being stopped right there in the House of Reps by the Labor amendment. They wouldn't stop it. So it went through to the Senate. And who stabbed us all in the back in the Senate? Sterling Griff, Centre Alliance. Because for the first time in history, we had Jackie Lambie, we had Senator Rex Patrick, we had the Greens, and we had the Labor Party, all of them voting against the card. And it was Centre Alliance, Sterling Griff, who not only did he abstain from his vote, he walked out of the building. He didn't even show up for the vote. He left the building to avoid even being there for the vote, which enabled the government to extend it. They'd done their deal, which is absolutely despicable. The ultimate betrayal, considering they'd been telling us for the last 2 years, we won't vote for it without the evaluation. And the independent evaluation had not been handed down. And That was part of the previous vote where Tim Storer, who was the one that threw Hinkler under the bus, right? Again, another independent, so it's called crossbencher, right? They said that they would have, he put in an amendment for an independent evaluation. And then Centre Alliance said, well, we won't vote on it if that isn't there. And we watched Anne Ruston refuse to release that evaluation. And yet Centre Alliance still voted to continue this for another 2 years. All right. Why? Why continue it for another 2 years? What's the deal? It's just crazy. So we have it. Everybody's going to me, well, ALP needs to scrap it. Well, they've said it. They're going to do it. So that's it. You want the card gone? It's very simple. You need to replace your LNP members with ALP members. Places like Hinkler, Keith Pitt needs to move over for whoever the ALP candidate that they put up for the federal election. Simple as that. Vote LNP out, put your ALP in, vote your Greens second as well. Because if we don't, put it this way, do you want the card or you don't? Because if LNP get back in, we're all goners. Roll out. Whether it be to all under 25s or whether it be all under 36s, whether it be eventually in the future pensioners, they've already started with Cape York, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. If the LNP get in, this country's sunk. All of us are sunk. And the cashless debit card will just roll out, become a permanent imposition, and it'll just destroy us. And it's privatised and people have no recourse. And once they get that locked in cement, that'll be impossible to wind back in the future. Because they're selling our social security off, the privatisation. But along with that, they're selling the people that are on social security to a private corporation. So that's the best way I can explain it to you guys. I wasn't around yesterday much because I was very, very tired and I was quite ill in the morning. So sorry I wasn't around. I was just too draining. I was not well. So I'm back this morning. Had a good sleep. Feeling a lot better. And I thought, I'm looking at the comments here. And the bottom line is, vote ALP 1, Greens 2. Get rid of the LNP and One Nation. All right. And Centre Alliance. Get rid of them. They're not voting for the people. They're not looking after the people. And look at what they have voted for. Cashless debit cards, right? Increases in the cost of university education. Destroying the family law court. I mean, I'm going to make a list eventually as to what, I'm going to make a list eventually of all of the things that this LNP One Nation supported government has done, so that people can actually see what have they done for the ordinary person. What have they done for persons who disabilities and health issues and aged care? What have they done for your mum? What have they done for your brother, your sister? What have they done for you? What have they done to make your life better? Right? No matter where you come from. And that's the bottom line. You know what I mean? And cashless debit cards, we desperately need to raise rates of income support, all right, across the board. I will always say the same thing. From the ages of 17 to 70, everybody needs to pay rent, electricity, telephone. They need a livable income, all right? But it's no good if it's got this cashless debit card as an umbrella over the top of it to oppress people and keep people down and just feed the profits of corporates. You know, it's a big issue. And I'm glad that the federal ALP voted to go against the cashless debit card completely. And I'm glad that Anthony Albanese answered the question yesterday, and it was quite simple. Will you scrap the cashless debit card? And he said yes. All right. So, I'm looking at comments here. What is the process of removing Indu? They have government contracts. How long are the contracts for? How will Labor end those contracts? Well, I'm not in the ALP, and even Labor can't see those contracts. And no, so what compensation will Indu want for the end of the contract and loss of income? Those are questions that nobody can answer until Labor get in the seat and actually see what's going on. But if you read what Anthony Albanese actually said in regards to a federal ICAC, right? They want to do a complete investigation, right? So, no. So Tansy Moon says permanently, or will it come back in a different form? I don't know what you mean. Getting rid of the cashless debit card and getting rid of the privatised system would be getting rid of it permanently. It would be undoing the privatisation of our social security. A lot of people don't seem to understand what the cashless debit card is, what Indu is doing, right, and what the government has done. Basic card has been here for 12, 13 years, right? Thanks to John Howard and the Northern Territory intervention, it was made compulsory, and all of the supports that were around it were stripped away. You've got to remember the basics card was asked for by First Nations women, right, as a tool, as a help for support. And it was originally voluntary. They could nominate how much money they wanted to put on it. They had supports, caseworker supports around it. John Howard came in, did the Northern Territory intervention, took all the supports away and just made it blanket, right? Removed the Racial Discrimination Act, made sure that every First Nations person was put on it in the Northern Territory, and just bang, wiped out. But ALP don't want that. They want voluntary informed consent. And I've seen it myself with the protests from First Nations people. They want choice. They want to be heard. They want people to listen. And this is where the ALP are listening, right? They want the choice to either keep their basics card or get rid of their basics card. But they don't want the cashless debit card. They made that evidently clear in the lead up to the last vote, when they all came out against it. All of the peak bodies, all of their organisation, all of their communities came out against the cashless debit card. They don't want it. They want the choice as to whether they keep their basics card because they know their basics card, or whether they can get off their basics card. So ALP are happy to keep the basics card in play, which is controlled by government, not private corporation. So, I mean, it looks like everybody's going to just be nitpicking here, right, about, oh, well, we've got no idea how that can be achieved. Does it matter? They've put it down. They've put it out there, right? Enough of the nitpicking. Either you vote to get rid of the LNP and get rid of the cashless debit card, or you play your cards and see and just pray that you don't end up on it, your kids and your grandkids, because that's the ultimate, right? All the nitpicking about, oh, but. Look, the choice is there, right? ALP have come down and said they're not going to continue with the cashless debit card. Simple as that, right? They're going to stick with the basics card, but they're going to change it to voluntary. Nobody's going to ask for better for that, where people can have a choice, where people can ask for it if they want it. All right? So, Anne Margaret O'Connor, you know, your understanding that removing a government contract from a private enterprise is very, very difficult. Yeah, but that's not our concern. The concern is that they're going to do it. They're going to do it. They're going to do what they need to do to stop this privatisation of social security. Look at the bigger picture. All right? Nitpicking. Stop nitpicking. All right? I'm sick of it. I'm really sick of it. It's, 6 years we've been doing this fight. And the federal ALP have stepped up with not only an answer, right, but a solution. Bottom line, scrap the CDC, the privatised, corporatised version. Go back to the basics card, which is monitored and serviced by public servants and accountable to you and me and everybody else, right? But make it voluntary so that everybody has a choice. Like I said, in the protests that I saw from First Nations people, they asked for a choice. They made signs. We want to choose. We want you to listen. We want our voices heard. And the ALP have stepped up, and the Greens have always been against income management anyway, and the Greens have always been totally against the cashless debit card anyway. Do you know what I mean? But, okay, so Anne Margaret says she thinks it's important to say people will start the process to remove the card, but people will not automatically come off it. Why won't they automatically come off it? Right? If ALP are in government, they can make the legislation to change it to make the opt-out so easy if they want to. Remember, it's only legislation that can be changed. They can turn around and say, okay, we'll get rid of this convoluted farce of an opt-out system. If you don't want it, go into your Centrelink office and say you don't want it. Bingo. They can be reversed. The minister herself this week proved that it can be reversed in 1 hour when they want to do it for somebody. Because they did it for a grey nomad travelling the Northern Territory last week. Right? Tried to put him on a cashless debit card as a visitor. And because he pulled them up on their own legislation, they reversed the decision within an hour. It can be done. So pick as much as you like, Anne. I'm over it, right? My bottom line is, you know, you want the card or you don't want the card, right? I don't want the card. I don't want my daughter to have the card. I don't want your kids and other people's kids and grandkids to be stuck in this situation. I don't want what the LNP are offering. I don't want the austerity, the poverty, the homelessness, right? And the treating of Australian citizens like commodities and, for corporates to make money off of. Okay? I want a change of government that is going to change the policy, get rid of the rotten policy, and at least have a policy that people want, right? Okay? And those First Nations people that have asked for that policy, they want the choice. And we have to respect that. We can't just storm in and go, no. Right? I'm sorry, but First Nations people need to have a say as well. Because it's just crazy. We need to change everything. All right? Anthony Albanese already explained himself if you heard the text yesterday. Okay, so go and listen to it. Marcus Paul in the morning. The link is on the page here on our post. It's also on Marcus Paul. Go and listen to it, Anne Margaret. Go and listen to what Albanese said. Okay? And then go and listen to what all the other ALP senators have said as well. All right? And then go and listen to what Rachel Seward has said as well. Because, anyway, I'm just happy, right? Well, I'm not a politician, Anne Margaret. I don't have the details. Ring Albanese's office and nitpick on him, okay? Go to the ALP. If you're not satisfied with their statement that they've come out in public and said they will scrap the cashless debit card, but they are still will have a voluntary income management for those people that want it. If you're not happy with that, go to the ALP and tell them that's not enough for you, Anne Margaret, okay? Because guess what? It's enough for me, right? And First Nations people should have their voices heard. And I heard them say they wanted choices. And federal ALP have been listening. And Linda Burney has said it herself, right? So I'm sorry, but First Nations mobs should speak about this publicly. They have been, but not on a platform like this, okay? I'm sorry. Right? Oh, dear, oh, dear. I don't get it. This is really good. It's taken 6 years to get to this point where they've said, and we've got people who just want to pick it to pieces. Right? I'm sorry, but we don't. We have been fighting for the lives of people. We're fighting for our own lives. Right? First Nations people have been asking for a choice. Is that so bad? To have an income management system that they can have a choice in, that they can take up if they want, they can get off if they want, right? What's wrong with that? That's their business, not mine. I should have the same choice too if I wanted to utilise it, right? So Linda Burney speaks in, she's the ALP Human Services. She speaks in the Parliament. Milandari McCarthy speaks from the Northern Territory. Strong First Nation women. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't understand what the problem is here. That this is really good news, and there's a lot of people just picking it to pieces. Right? Irrespective of how you'd normally vote, we have to look at this and go, well, what do we want as a future for our kids? Right? Do we want more LNP, One Nation, Centre Alliance destroying everything? Or do we want a chance to change things and at least get something better for our kids? Because at the moment, all I've watched in the last 8 years is these right-wing people destroy everything. Access to university, TAFE, right? Destroy the aged care. They're busy trying to dismantle and destroy the NDIS, right? Anything that is about caring for Australians, for ordinary Australians that aren't in that top 20% tier, has been attacked, all right? Including us as people turned into commodities for profit. I don't want that. I don't want that anymore. I'm sick to death of the treatment that this government dishes out to all of our people. All right? Everybody needs housing. Everybody needs food and clothing and shelter and education. And everybody needs access to that. And as pointed out by Mahalia herself, who can't pay for her childcare fees for kindy, can't pay for her primary school needs with her card. She explained how that impacts her children's education from the beginning by being controlled by a corporatized entity, right? Means that her children's education is impacted from the day that they get into early education, or they don't get to go because she can't afford to pay out of her cash portion and you can't use the card to pay for it. Or her 5-year-old is missing out on stuff in primary school because she can't pay for it on the card, right? There's other issues. The card's got to go. And ALP have turned around, and Albo's turned around and said they're going to get rid of it. That's good enough for me. 6 years of fighting like hell to hear those words. What more could I ask? Right? Yes, we know there's challenges and there's technicalities to get rid of it. But I'm going to put my vote in a place where there's a chance to get rid of it, not risk it being wasted and end up with the LNP and never get rid of it, and watch our country completely sold out to everybody who just wants to make a dollar and doesn't care if you can't buy food like Mahala. You can't pay for your kids' education. Your kids miss out, right? I'm not going to risk it. That's my personal thing, right? And it's the only way we can do, you know. I have stayed apolitical all the way through this. I've sat in the middle of Greens and ALP. And straight up, the only way we're going to do this is ALP 1, Greens 2, right? Because we've got Greens cannot take power by themselves, but they can be a really formidable force in the Senate to make sure that policies are properly, you know, pushed against if they're bad policies, right? But in the House of Reps, we need ALP. We need a majority in the House. And the only way to do that is to get behind Albo and push it and do it. And like, yeah, I'm not, how can I say it? I'll have to say the same as what SN7 said. It's not about me endorsing ALP. It's about, do you want a future for this country and change? Or do you want more of the same, where everybody's sitting here whinging about watching people die, and robo-deaths and aged care and the starvation and the abuse and the treatment in every sector, right? You know what I mean? Every sector, across every sector, we've just watched everything be pulled apart. That's the option, and I don't want that for my daughter, and I don't want that for any future grandchildren. And I don't want it for your kids, and I don't want it for your parents. I don't want the world that LNP have created at the moment. I want better. And if I've got to vote Labor to do it, we'll do it. All right? Kathy Gall says, oh, ALP had better cancel the card on day one. It's not that easy. God, on day one elected, oh, cancel everything. No, but they will stop it. But, you know, they've managed to turn around and give you a quite clear thing. They've been saying it all the way along. They do support voluntary informed consent basics card. Because that's what some First Nations people have been asking for. And they've been listening. Right? What more can you ask for? Right? But they don't support the corporatised, privatised, profiteering cashless debit card and what it removes from people. Because if you're sold to a private company, they don't support that. They don't support the privatisation of our social security sector. All right? So the bottom line comes into people who are nitpicking, what future do you want? What do you want for your kids? What do you want for your grandkids? What do you want for your parents? And what do you want for your elderly? What do you want? Do you want more of what we've seen, where we have the bushfires? And he's on a beach in Hawaii, couldn't give a damn. 2 years later, those people that suffered in the bushfires are still living in tents. Do we want more of that? Do we want more homelessness? You know, where we've got families living in tents. Do we want more? It's only going to get worse as the austerity kicks in more. You know, so, yeah. Anyway, that's my piece on it. I'm really happy that Albo made the statement, right, because it was needed. And Marcus asked him the question straight out, and he said, yes. Finally, thank you, ALP. We all know where we stand now. It's a matter of which way do you want to go. Do you want to stay with LNP, or do you want to go with ALP and get the change? Right, we've had 8 years of the LNP selling us and our kids down the road for their mates' profits, right? And how many dead have we got? And how many people have we got that are homeless, hungry, can't access medicine? 376,000 disabled people who can't access disability support pension, let alone pay to go and see a specialist, right? And how much have they nibbled away at our Medicare? How many of you out there suddenly have to pay for certain blood tests and have to pay for MRIs and all that sort of thing, all right? And you have to pay for all these extra treatments. We don't want that. We want things better than that. The idea is to improve life, not go back 100 years where the poor are stigmatised and vilified and sat out on the street begging. And I'm sorry, but I'm sick of my kids starving. I'm sick of struggling myself. Every time an LNP government's gone in, it meant that I couldn't eat most of the time. Whenever we've had an ALP government over the years, wonderful, I've been able to eat. There's a big difference. And it's like, I don't like the depression that comes with the ALP government, or the LNP government, the depression it brings that I'm no longer a worthy Australian citizen, and their welfare bashing and that. I'm sick to death of it. I want change. And, you know, we need to make change. So let's make change. We came here to stop the cashless debit card. We've fought our asses off for 6 years, right? We managed to get ALP to turn around because they didn't understand the nature of the trial at the beginning, and they've come completely full circle against it, right? So therefore, that's it. Stand up when the time comes, when the election's called. Make sure they get the chance to change it. Don't let this opportunity slip away. Right? We have to change the government, and, you know, and the small independents can't take government over. So got to be able to do this. Anyway, I'm out of here. And as for the naysayers and the nitpickers, go ask your questions to the federal ALP. Right? I will be voting green, ALP 1, Greens 2, because that's the only way we're going to make change. Okay? That's me personally. That's the way it's going to be for me. Because this is the thing that solidified the vote for me. Right? Is the fact that the fight that we saw in the Senate on the 9th of December, and you can go back into our videos here on the page, scroll back to those debates, right? And watch the videos, watch the fight that the ALP and Green senators put up for you guys to try and stop this card from rolling out any further. Go and watch the fight that the senators did, all of them, ALP and Greens. We must change it, right? And never forget, as far as people like One Nation are concerned, you don't have any rights. That's wrong. You're citizens and you're supposed to have rights. And they're supposed to be respected. And laws aren't supposed to be changed or gotten around to exclude you from the protections under law so that a private company can make money. Bottom line. Do you know what I mean? So go check out the videos. It's there. You'll have to scroll down in our video section. Go and watch the debates. You can't say they didn't try, because they did. It was Sterling Griff Centre Alliance who threw it out the window and allowed this to continue. It should have stopped that day, 9th of December 2020. You know what I mean? So, anyway, I'm going to go and, yeah, I'm so glad that's happened. Now we still keep pushing. Let Mahalia off the card. Some news on that front. The department's been in touch. She has to put in another opt-out application. And it's been made, that she had to put in more bank statements with the help of Rachel Seaward last week, taking it into the Senate. And Senator Sue Lyon's office has also updated that information, uploaded it as well, so they can't say that they didn't get it, right? Hopefully we'll hear an outcome pretty soon with Mahalia. Thank you for all of your support there. We'll keep pushing. I'll be back later in the day. I've got a doozy of a situation that a family is in WA, which is going to rock your socks because it's just horrendous, and we've got 5 days to try and stop a family from being put on the card in the first place. So I'll be back a bit later with that one. I've just got to frame it right due to the privacy issues. Okay, but I do have consent to share a story with you, but I have to be careful. It's delicate. So, all right. See you guys. Bye.